When Marie awoke from a death-like sleep, she was lying in her little bed, and the sun was shining brightly in at the window, which was all covered with frost flowers. There was a strange gentleman sitting beside her, whom she recognized as Dr. Wendelstein. "She's awake," he said softly, and her mother came and looked at her very scrutinizingly and anxiously. "Ah, Mother," whispered Marie, "are all those horrid mice gone away? And is Nutcracker quite safe?" "Don't talk such nonsense, Marie," answered her mother. "What have the mice to do with Nutcracker? Oh, you're a very naughty girl, and have caused us all a great deal of anxiety. Oh, see what comes of children not doing as they're told. You were playing with your toys so late last night that you fell asleep. I don't know whether the mice jumped out and frightened you, though there are no mice here generally. But you broke a pane of the glass cupboard with your elbow and cut your arm so badly that Dr. Wendelstein, who has just taken a number of pieces of the glass out of your arm, thinks that if it had been a little higher up, you might have had a stiff arm for life, and even have bled to death. Thank heaven, I awoke about 12 o'clock and missed you, and I found you lying insensible in front of the glass cupboard, bleeding frightfully, and with a number of Fritz's lead soldiers scattered round you, and other toys, broken mortar figures and gingerbread men, and Nutcracker was lying on your bleeding arm with your left shoe not far off." "Oh, Mother," said Marie, "these were the remains of the tremendous battle between the toys and the mice. And what frightened me so terribly was that the mice were going to take Nutcracker, who was the commander-in-chief of the toy army, prisoner. Then I threw my shoe in among the mice. After that, I know nothing more what happened." Dr. Wendelstein gave a significant look at the mother, who said very gently to Marie, "Never mind, dear. Keep yourself quiet. The mice are all gone away. Nutcracker's in the cupboard, quite safe and sound." Here Marie's father came in and had a long consultation with Dr. Wendelstein, and when he felt Marie's pulse and she heard them talking about wound fever, she had to stay in bed and take medicine for some days, though she didn't feel at all ill, except that her arm was rather stiff and painful. She knew Nutcracker had got safe out of the battle, and she seemed to remember, as if in a dream, that he had said quite distinctly, in a very melancholy tone, "Marie, dearest lady, I am most deeply indebted to you, but it is in your power to do even more for me." She thought and thought what this could possibly be, but in vain. She couldn't make it out. She wasn't able to play on account of her arm, and when she tried to read or look through the picture books, everything wavered before her eyes so strangely that she was obliged to stop. The days seemed very long to her, and she could scarcely pass the time till evening, when her mother came and sat at her bedside, telling and reading her all sorts of nice stories. She had just finished telling her the story of Prince Fakardin when the door opened, and in came Godpapa Drosselmeyer, saying, "I've come to see with my own eyes how Marie's getting on." And when Marie saw Godpapa Drosselmeyer in his little yellow coat, the scene of the night when Nutcracker lost the battle with the mice came so vividly back to her that she couldn't help crying out, "Oh, Godpapa Drosselmeyer, how nasty you are! I saw you quite well when you were sitting on the clock, covering it all over with your wings to prevent it from striking and frightening the mice. I heard you quite well when you called the mice king. Why didn't you help Nutcracker? Why didn't you help me, you nasty Godpapa? It's nobody's fault but yours that I'm lying here in a bad arm." Her mother, in much alarm, asked what she meant. But Drosselmeyer began making extraordinary faces and said in a snarling voice, like a sort of chant in monotone, "Pendulums could only rattle, couldn't tick, ne'er a click. All the clocks stopped their ticking, no more clicking. Then they all struck loud, cling, clang. Dolls, don't your heads hang down, hink and hank and honk and hank. Doll girls, don't hang your heads, cling and ring. The battle's over, Nutcracker all safe in clover. Comes the owl on downy wing, scares away the mouse's king. Pack and pick and pick and pook, clocks bim boom grab. Pendulums must click again, tick and tack, grab, 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 grab. Marie fixed wide eyes of terror upon Godpapa Drosselmeyer, 'cause he was looking quite different and far more horrid than usual, and was jerking his right arm backwards and forwards as if he were some puppet moved by a handle. She was beginning to grow terribly frightened at him when her mother came in, and Fritz, who had arrived in the meantime, laughed heartily, crying, "Why, Godpapa, you are going on funnily. Oh, you're just like my old jumping jack that I threw away last month." But the mother looked very grave and said, "This is a most extraordinary way of going on, Mr. Drosselmeyer. What can you mean by it?" My goodness, oh, said Drosselmeyer, laughing. "Oh, did you never hear my nice watchmaker's song? I always sing it to little invalids like Marie." Then he hastened to sit down beside Marie's bed and said to her, "Oh, don't be vexed with me, because I don't gouge out all the Mice King's 14 eyes. Oh, that couldn't be managed exactly. But to make up for it, here's something which I know will please you greatly." He dived into one of his pockets, and what he slowly brought out of it was Nutcracker, whose teeth he had put in again quite firmly, and set his broken jaw completely to rights. Marie shouted for joy. Oh, and her mother laughed and said, now you see for yourself how nice Godpapa Drosselmeyer is to Nutcracker." "But you must admit, Marie, you must admit," said her Godpapa, "that Nutcracker is far from being what you might call a handsome fellow, and you can't say he has a pretty face. If you like, I'll tell you how it was that the ugliness came into his family, and has been handed down in it from one generation to another. Did you ever hear about the Princess Pirlipat, the witch Mouse Rink, and the clever clockmaker?" "I say, Godpapa Drosselmeyer," interrupted Fritz at this juncture, "you've put Nutcracker's teeth in again all right, and his jaw isn't wobbly as it was. But what's become of his sword? Why haven't you given him a sword?" cried Drosselmeyer, annoyed. "Oh, you must always be bothering and finding fault with something or other, boy. What have I to do with Nutcracker's sword? I put his mouth to rights for him. He must look out for a sword for himself." Yes, said Fritz, "so he must. Of course, if he's the right sort of fellow." "Oh, so tell me, Marie," continued Drosselmeyer, "if you know the story of Princess Pirlipat." "No," said Marie. "Tell it to me, please. Do tell it to me." "Oh, I hope it won't be as strange and terrible as your stories generally are," said the mother. "Oh, no. Nothing of the kind," said Drosselmeyer. "On the contrary, it's quite a funny story, which I'm going to have the honor of telling this time." "Go on, then. Go on. Do tell it to us," cried the children. And Drosselmeyer commenced as follows. The story of the hard nut.